Great. Okay. Well, welcome. December 2016, as Gaurav shared, I certainly didn't expect a VP Day and Spark Social and all these wonderful things. It's certainly definitely, I guess one of the big things we chat about today is kind of the inflection point of Pioneer Fund. Is that all right? Or it's oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, I'll stick with it. So, yeah, December 2016 is a long time ago, and it's yeah, thrilling to see so many people have joined the fund over the years. We've surpassed 500 venture partners, which is pretty amazing. Uh, we've now achieved over 700 companies in our portfolio, and the returns have been great. It's, the fundraising market's always been challenging, but it's a great story to tell that, we've been able to scale such a unique community, get access to the, companies we're excited about, and ultimately drive value for ourselves as YC alumni. One of the reasons why we set up the fund, but additionally for some other investors that I'll highlight. So, again, thank you, Gaurav. Gaurav, I remember when you came to me and you were talking about VP Week. So VP Day is a great start. Maybe next year we'll do it if the energy's up there. So today, I guess you want to keep it conversational. Feel free to jump in if you got a big question. We've obviously got a fireside chat later, but kind of want to go through, I guess, a bit of the journey where we came from, where we currently are, and ultimately where we want to go. Before we jump into the old days, I do want to recognize it's quite frankly everybody in the room. Like the venture partners have been such a influential part of what we built. People probably roll their eyes when they hear me say it, but literally their fingerprints are everywhere on how we make decisions, how we support founders, just everything about what we've built for a community has very much been influenced by our venture partners and our senior venture partners. We really couldn't have built this without you. So starting off here, apologies for the lame Microsoft graphics. I promise our fundraising decks look much better. Uh, Later, halfway through the presentation, I got bored with them, so I changed to banana for some graphics. They're not much better. But yeah, the origin. So, I think many people have heard the origin story, but I went through YC in summer 15, some batch mates here. You meet, as everybody does, you meet great founders. You also get very excited about becoming an angel investor. And so, many of you, and including myself, started doing some angel investing. And very quickly, I realized I was okay in my area, but gosh, I really like this company and this company. I just didn't have the expertise to size it up. And so started chatting with venture partners, like or soon to be venture partners, about getting this going. So December 2016 is when I got going. I'll lay the timeline here, but yeah, early days, I think, trying to, I guess, harness the uncoordinated aspect of angel investing. How can we come together at scale to write larger checks, to respect founder time, and obviously just aggregate our capital. And really the goal of making something that's community driven and efficient, and build build a VC that we would have wanted to engage with when we went through our batches. Yeah, go ahead. Of course I did. I, of course, of course. Well, December 2016 was also the month my son was born. So I started two startups then. So the 5-year plan was more just trying to figure out as I go. The first ambition of the fund was originally a $10 million fund. Wanted to recruit a handful of venture partners, and by early in the spring, I guess in December, I had 3 venture partners: Ian Burgess, uh, Newman Ahmad, and Vanessa Lee were 3 venture partners, and started having some conversations with new YC alumni. How did I do that? Well, someone was riding the AngelList Demo Day bus, chatting with YC alumni who are going there, going to demo days and alumni demo days, kind of having the conversations about the idea. Ultimately, kind of in the spring, it took roots. So in summer 2017 was the first major check. So I'll touch upon that investor, but we got a $2.2 million check from an LP that really kind of kicked off the fundraise, and that got things going for us. Ultimately, we did our first close that many of you participated in December 2017. Started deploying in winter 18, and ultimately finished final close in December. So I was looking at stuff. I'm like, oh, what should I show? I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to other bad decks that I had ages ago. And this was the original name of Pioneer Fund. So I had the original deck. It's surprisingly hasn't changed that much through the years. The story has largely changed, been the same. Lots more venture partners, obviously, but originally called the Alumni Fund. There's some faces of some of the original venture partners from day one. But one of the things I wanted to do is because we're going to start to scale this was chat with YC to kind of, I don't know, ask for permission perhaps, but like, hey, we're going to do this at a different level. So, kind of put a, I should probably dig that up and share that. It's kind of 3 or 4 page sort of founding document, circled out with the YC partnership of like, hey, this is what we're thinking, this is what we're doing. They were excited. One of the partners put up their hand and like, Alumni Fund sounds super official. That makes us uncomfortable. Can you change your name? So started brainstorming with one of the YC partners, actually Jared Friedman, and Pioneer Way, where many of you, I'm sure, attended your batch, is the origin of the name. So pretty quickly thereafter, we changed it to Pioneer Fund and have been that ever since. The other one I thought it was like funny. I was like, the early days of all the stuff you don't know about raising a fund and legal costs are pretty high. So I actually raised quite a bit of capital on a term sheet I made up. It was before GPT. So it was actually hard to do at that time. But I made up a term sheet. Sounded pretty official because a bunch of you signed it. James signed it in November. I think he's one of the November 2017. Tim, January 2018. So I convinced a lot of you that this made sense. Eventually, before going to official fund structure, it was probably the right thing to do because my God, lawyers are expensive in setting up a fund. Uh, the big check. So when I was looking at this, I realized like a lot of our LPs over the years are great people. We've got now some pensions that we represent, pension capital, some family offices. But our first major investor, and they've been with us since the beginning, is Jim and Louise Temerty. I got to know them through my company prior to YC, where we did a bunch of power deals together. I guess probably helped him make some of this capital. So it was nice for him to recycle it back, I guess. He liked the story of what we were building. And, we can't ask for a better one. I highlight some of his philanthropic work, just massive donations. He did $250 million a couple of years ago into University of Toronto, diabetes research. He's Canadian Ukrainian. He's very active in that cause. Just phenomenal at the amount of money he puts back in the community. And it's great for us because we're part of that. The returns that we generate drive some of this philanthropic activity for them. So it is nice that we had such a wonderful sort of anchor LP since the beginning. The other thing I was looking at was like, Fund One was how it was raised. I set out a $10 million goal. We eventually hit that. And then it kind of got just sort of plateaued for a while. And I was surprised at the end on how much that we ultimately raised $25 million. The last quarter, we effectively doubled the fund size, which was a great experience, which was interesting. It was kind of stomach churning. I hope that never occurred again, but Fund Two has been the same story and Fund Three's been the same story. LPs need a deadline, a final close to work to. They don't believe us when we say next month's the final close, and then the final close, and then the final close. So eventually we we're able to close the capital on that. This is the first of the Nano Banana images of me closing that fund. It was sort of pre-Carta. AngelList had this terrible fund thing, so I thought I was going to save money and just do it myself with DocuSign. Yeah, I still had hair. That's right. I still had hair. That's good. Probably at least 20 pounds lighter, but it was it was challenging. So I highly recommend, and I'm very pleased that we have a lot of service providers now that can not force us to do that. So Fund One, early days, we ended up with 165 venture partners, about $25 million in capital. Challenges, fundraising, just coordination and execution. So I threw a bunch of logos of us like trying to figure out how to run this sort of a beast of a community from day one. We fiddled with Discourse as a forum. We even did a batch on Basecamp, which was terrible. We had some Google Sheets floating around. Pretty quickly though, by 2019, we kind of had solidified and as you know, we went deep on Airtable and building on top of that, which will eventually be ripped out in the coming year, I guess, as we have scaled past that. But that was, many of you were part of those challenges of like, how do we coordinate a large group? How do we respect founder time, bring in the right expertise to chat with companies? 2018, we did get our hands slapped a couple times for YC on like you need to get this beast under control. But ultimately, it was a good discussion with them, and we started to scale. So I did find an old Google sheet, which is kind of fun to look at on how we prioritize companies and reach out and had taglines. And so all the wonderful stuff that James has built in Slack and runs was off Google Sheets, and it was pretty chaotic. Obviously, the batches were a lot smaller, so it was a little bit more manageable. But some great stories. I think some fond memories of us sitting around a boardroom table. Dave, you're shaking. Do you remember where that place was? I'm trying to remember the name. Yeah, that's right. It was great. Yeah. Cohort. Yeah, it's shut down since. Hopefully that's not a great sign. But it was great. There's some fond memories of that, and ultimately, Alumni Demo Day was where the action was. And I was like, oh, what was our first investment? And I was surprised with this. I thought it was another company, but it was Snack Pass, and Tim and I spent some time on that one. And so Snack Pass, the first investment that we made in winter 18. With that, we had the SVP. So SVPs, as everybody knows, critical part of the organization. There's some faces that are still active SVPs and some folks who have gone on to just busy with their startups. But this was the original crew. Uh, we ran this. Tim, boom, came in summer 18. So winter 18, I worked with him on Stack Pass. I'm like, God, this guy's so talented. He's got to play a more active role. In summer 18, I'm like, okay, yeah, you need to be an SVP. So it's great group. Again, that table we sat around, and we're instrumental in kind of like helping define how we ran our processes and how we ultimately deployed capital. So fun one, again, growing the team, super early days. Tim joined as a VP, then SVP, just super talented. Can't think of another person to build a fund with. He joined as a GP in winter 19. Jonathan, we formed an LPAC, so we haven't highlighted that much, but an LPAC is a limited partner advisory committee, represents LPs. Jonathan is represented from Fund One for venture partners on that. We had 165 partners and 93 investments. So that was the first one. So Fund One, scrappy beginnings, pretty stretching capacity, hair started to fall out. Fund Two, kind of probably stretched beyond limits. Like it got pretty wild. Not only were we scaling, but also there's a few things the world threw at us. COVID, sort of tech boom, inflation, SVP collapse. So lots going on. Uh, Thankfully, Fund Two, when it closed, it was a tough raise, but I do often say like Fund Two was kind of maybe a sweet spot. So like Fund One's hard. You're going around with your deck and people are skeptical. Fund Two is really to just like, did you blow up in Fund One? Did you stick to thesis? So it's too early for results. So Fund Two fundraise, it was hard, but it went, but allowed us to start to staff up, which was necessary. So Mike was introduced beginning, joined in 2022. Barbie, who many of you interact with on subscription, 2022 as well. James. Took him a while. He was an early signer in November 2017, but a bit reluctant. Took a few years before joining full time. Ultimately joined in 2023. Mosh as well. And Whitney became the LPAC representative for Fund Two. So SVP ranks grew, venture partner ranks grew, and obviously we picked up our pace. So lots of senior venture partners. Some of these people are not active anymore or taking it to a pause, but lots of faces on there, including obviously a lot that are here today. Some of you were not until Fund Three, but kind of just grabbed a great picture of all the wonderful people helping us on that. So stretch beyond limits was, things were starting to catch up. It was getting a little bit easier to run the fund. We're starting to have some specialization on different things. Fund Three, probably quite frankly, the biggest test. But, as we'll touch upon in a bit, really kind of the breakthrough and inflection. Fund Three, from a fundraising standpoint, seems to be, and this is all stuff learning as I go, is emerging manager pitching funds. You've been around long enough that you need to show some results. You need to obviously have had success with Fund One and Fund Two. The thesis is still making sense. But the backdrop of that was obviously very challenging market to raise capital in. We've seen, I've posted some things in Slack just at the concentration of capital in certain funds, the concentration of capital in certain companies. Ultimately, though, we got it done, and we're able to raise that. With that, allowed us to grow the team some more. So did Eric walk in yet? So Eric's got the title for the most acronyms ever with us. So VP, SVP, VGP, and GP. So Eric, obviously many of you interact, great, just wonderful human being. Joined full time last year. Ben full time last year. Rob full time in a part time capacity last year. Gaurav recently this year. Dave, Future of Health, really started to kick off last year as well. T's the representative for our LPAC for this fund. 31 senior venture partners, 505 VPs, and X companies are growing. We're still obviously growing that fund. So a little bit of the history from that of getting to today. I do want to pause though because it's pretty crazy what we do. So if we tally up all our individual investors, we have 1,800 investors across our syndicates and various funds. We have 85 entities to manage, hundreds of filings, and over 700 portfolio companies. So, Mike, we should probably clap again for Mike and his team. I know Mike doesn't want it, but yeah, it's pretty amazing the machinery. Like when I chat with potential LPs, they're skeptical. Like, can you actually do this? When I chat with other fund managers, their heads explode when I tell them what we're up to. But like this team and allows us to be able to scale to the level that we have been able to do it. So where we are today. So today, 707 portfolio companies, probably outdated already. 505 venture partners, soon to be outdated. Over 1,500 founders that we support. We've raised 270 million in capital, and thankfully, thanks to you, everybody here in the room, our performance has been strong. So where we go, nano banana graphic. Got a little better, I guess. We have really solidified our edge. So now it is very well-defined edge. The DNA is just impossible to replicate of us, YC alumni investing in YC founders. Obviously, over the years, before Pioneer Fund, there was, AngelList syndicates or, YC alumni working at other funds. Like we've truly built something quite remarkable. The operational machinery is really, caught up and just, last batch is a perfect example. Like it was just ran so wonderfully smoothly. We just had such an operational edge over everyone. And it really results in a spot that, it's just a community that's impossible to replicate. We need to constantly think of it as we continue to grow, but, we're just, so far ahead of other groups that are trying to, in some ways, mimic what we're doing. Another nano banana one. I think it's like when I had some venture capital stuff in there, so I think it's like up and to the right. Every graphic came up and to the right because that's what we like to see in our slides. So now we're Fund 3. We're at a bit of an inflection point. So, it's a franchise moment. The term's a bit cringy for me, but like it's a bit of a franchise moment for us. Like Fund 1 and 2 and 3, like really building it. But this is the first time after many, many years, I really feel like we have strong wins in our sales. Like operationally, things are going very well. We're getting inbound interest from LPs. Our LP base is institutionalized, and we're really established a brand and have the infrastructure to take us to the next level. And so a bit of what I have presented is sort of, the past, I guess, since 2016 of the years of building, and now we're, in that scaling mode. Again, up and to the right, we've become, certainly already in many ways, I think, a very trusted capital partner. But really, the vision and goal for us is just continue to be that the most trusted capital partner and for YC founders, default partner for those top companies. We have big ambitions to scale the AUM. So scale the AUM to over 3 billion over the coming years. And obviously, continue to deliver top results. But going back to the first one, I think the first one is what allows us to do two, three, and four is us to really build the community and continue to build that, that we become that trusted partner for YC alumni. And so, the processes we built, how we engage with alumni, and the conversations later today of how we continue to do that will be super important. So, one of the things that I'm most excited about this VP day is like we've now got a group of VPs in the room together, helping us think about like what the next 7 to 8 years looks like for us. So what's next? And some of this will be touched upon in the coming hours. Pioneer Prime, Tim's going to walk us through that. Founder support expansion, like how do we think about that? Some of the breakout sessions will be upon that. Investing improvements, how do we continue to constantly refine that? Like every batch, we're like feature freeze every batch, and then we release a couple new features and build some new technology. And then finally, brand and content and strategy. We have a wonderful story. We've been so over the years on telling it. Gaurav is part of the role for communities like getting us better at telling that story and sharing that externally. So thank you for being here today. Our first VP day. Gaurav says VP week next year. Pioneer week. Okay. Pioneer week. Yeah, I'll pause for a second. I guess if there's any questions or with that, we can continue on, but I'll stop for a moment, I guess, to see if there's any questions. Yeah. Mhm. Right, right. Yeah. Was there? That's a good question. Not really. It was a slog to the end. Yeah, it was sort of like it's sort of funny raising fun because you start at zero, and then you've got to convince people to kind of get the momentum. And LPs are incentivized to be the last money in. Nobody wants to be the first money in. And I think I recall the early conversations, especially historically, if you raise, you kind of get to a third of your capital raise. That sort of becomes a bit things start to roll. Where this last fundraise, it was like 50 or 60%. There was a lot of LPs were concerned of sort of zombie funds who got to their first close and just couldn't get any further, and their capital is now stuck there. And so a lot of people are just waiting until you got to that point. Or again, another situation where like half our capital got raised in kind of the final 6 months, a quarter. It was a bit stomach churning. I kind of on one, two experience that I shared that with the team. Like, okay, no, we'll get the momentum at the end, and at the end, two big institutionals came in, which was wonderful. That's going to make our future raises much easier. But gosh, it would have been nice to have them at the start. So, hmm. Hmm. Right. Yeah. Sure. Good. Oh, good. Yeah. So kind of YC's changed a lot over the years. How has that sort of impacted how we've changed or interacted with them? So four batches a year is the obvious one. That rhythm is, for them, pretty relentless, I guess. As shared, some of YC does partners do on a batch, off a batch. So the off batch, they do sort of application review and recruiting, and then they're on a batch of as group partners. I think that as you said that, the biggest reflection I have is probably the personality of YC over the years. Like I think of like first got going, Sam was still involved, then Jeff Ralston. Gary obviously has brought a different flavor, and so I think that's probably influenced that. I'd say the last few years with Gary back, it's probably been the biggest change for us. Like because Gary, not that YC, we always had a fantastic relationship with them, but it was always kind of like arm's length, like everybody else. Where I think Gary's been great for us on, just really likes what we've built. Gary became an LP in the fund. YC became an LP in the fund. Like they're just big fans of like how we've approached that. And I think, the big thing for them is our book face ratings, right? Like very strong, and so that's been great. So I think like as you asked the question, that was the first thing that jumped to mind is sort of like and we've probably all experienced that, the personalities of the YC presidents over the years and how that's influenced our interactions. So, mm, mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, thanks, Dave. Yeah, I agreed. Um, so yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Mhm. Right. Yeah. So the seed fund, yeah, Prime will be discussed on Tim will go greater details on that. I think like on the seed fund, we can scale that up a little bit for sure. Like I think we've been cognizant on like our check size and win rate. So a lot of us, a lot of the focus has been like making sure we maximize our win rate, and there's probably an upward bound on that check size where our loss rate would go up. So for Fund Four, we are going to target 150. I think we could certainly deploy 200. Past that, check sizes may start to get a little bit too high, which reminds me of a story I guess from the early days as we thought about that. It was like when I was getting the funds up and running. I remember I went and had a coffee with Mike Maples, and I went and had coffee with team at SV Angel, and I was like, hey, tell me about your early days, mistakes, what have you. And as many of you have heard with Mike Maples, your fund size is your strategy, and he really drilled that into me. He's like, hey, I don't know how your fundraise will go, but like if things are going well, you'll get LP pressure to increase your fund size. So like, but don't fuck it up. Like, don't raise too much capital. Know where your swim lane is. And then chatting with SV Angel, it was sort of very interesting because they experimented that with themselves. First fund was a 50 million, second fund was 50 million, third fund they went to 75, and their loss rate went up. They just said everybody in the room was used to us writing $250,000 checks, and then we showed up, and now we're doing 350, 400,000, and we wish we wanted to give the money back. We wanted to go back to that fund size. And so for us at Seed, I think it's thinking about that. Prime will be something that now we couldn't have done in Fund One. Prime now will sit on top of our portfolio of 700, soon to be 800 companies, and be an opportunity for us to involve ourselves in Series A's and B's, which we have somewhat over the years, but really to scale that up. And so over the coming years, our AUM expansion will really be driven by Prime more than Seed. I think Seed will kind of continue to be 150, maybe $200 million every, 2 to 3 years, and just kind of rinse and repeat that with Prime sitting on top of it. So, yes. Yeah. In regards to like, will we back more non-YC companies? So we continue to dabble and occasionally do non-YC companies. There's been some, good examples where people like the network we can provide. Second-time YC founders is maybe a bit of a cop-out. It's still sort of YC network. But I think at our root, yeah, YC, especially now with 4 batches a year, and the companies like, it's just phenomenal deal flow. We do see companies outside of it, and again, occasionally will, but we sit at the end of a fantastic pipeline with that. So, as I talk to LPs about our future funds, I'm like, hey, maybe 10%, 20% will do non-YC. Historically, it's been 5 to 10%, and I probably see that for the coming years. So. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, for being here today. It's great that we can spend time to chat about this. Obviously, lots of time today to ask questions, and happy to do it anytime over Slack or a call or whenever the question arises. Gaurav.